is the 77 WABC minicast.
Okay, welcome back. So on Iran, we said there were two issues that blew up the peace talks. One was the Strait of Hormuz, and we just spoke about that. And the second is Iran's nuclear capacity, which is, to me, the best justification for us having gotten involved in the first place. We're joined by Andrea Striker, who wrote a really provocative piece, Trump Must Secure Iran's Irreversible Nuclear Dismantlement or Resume Strikes. Ms. Striker is Deputy Director of FDD, Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It's a non-proliferation program, and she is an FDD research fellow. She's an expert on nuclear weapons proliferation and counter-proliferation, open source proliferation, and policy analysis, and strategic commodity trafficking, which means she is very, very smart and knows much more about this than I do. And we're lucky to have her with us today. And in Ms. Striker's piece, she goes through the issues that have to be resolved to make sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear capacity. And we have to have a multi-agency task force to dismantle the sites that have the enriched uranium. We have to have ongoing supervision, international oversight. We have to make sure they haven't hidden any enriched uranium. But Ms. Striker, talk about the issues. And then my question is it actually possible to accomplish the list that you lay out would be necessary to make sure Iran can't develop a nuclear weapon?
Great to join you, Governor. I think the U.S. demands that Iran dismantle its major nuclear facilities, end all uranium enrichment in the future on Iranian soil, and transfer all the enriched uranium stockpiles out of Iran. They are probably too high of a bar for the regime to accept. They're so fundamentally tied to enrichment and to having a nuclear weapons pathway that I'm not sure we will ever get them to say yes to these conditions. It may be that after a future round of military conflict or even the naval blockade inflicting severe economic pain, that regime pragmatists may decide to trade these away simply so that they can survive to govern the country. But we are dealing with hardened terrorists who just fundamentally may not be able to say yes. And that puts the president in a position where he's going to keep going, because this is really at the heart of our 25-year dispute with the Islamic Republic just on the nuclear issue, setting aside all of the other issues for the last 47 years.
Ms. Striker, you have a great expression, verifiable nuclear disarmament. Yes, but could you ever really do that? Could you ever really trust them? Even if you had the multi-agency task force came in and they got rid of the enriched uranium, and they said, okay, you can have international inspectors. Who would ever believe that you can trust them not to be developing it somewhere else in secret? Is it actually possible to police these people or take their word for anything?
Well, that's a really important question. And I think with the Iranian regime, you would have serious concerns. There's one bright spot, which is that the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, which is the UN nuclear watchdog, it has vast experience with overseeing the dismantlement of nuclear weapons programs. Now, we have a mixed record of how that works in practice. So, for example, with South Africa, that country decided to give up its nuclear weapons and then let the IAEA in to assure that everything was accounted for and eliminated. In the case of Libya, they also offered to let the IAEA in a similar fashion to what we could see if Iran does agree to do this, and ensure that everything was shipped out and eliminated over a process of several years in both cases. But then you have the case of Iraq, of course, which Saddam Hussein gave the United States, the UN, and other multinational teams the runaround for many years. And so I would say if we have a leadership that does commit to it and that is transparent and gives the IAEA full access to any site, lets it dismantle all the equipment and documentation, interview scientists, then you could see a strong process to ensure that the weapons program is fully eliminated. But if you do have them giving the IAEA the runaround, then that sure poses a problem, and you can never be certain that they won't try to cheat.
Look, this is a great conversation, and I think we're really getting to the core issues. And a lot of people have a lot of questions. Call in 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. But is it feasible, Ms. Striker? Libya, South Africa, I understand. But Iran, Pickaxe Mountain, they may have already, there's some reports that they're already hiding uranium. They're hiding centrifuge components. Is there, even if they said, okay, I'll sign everything, I'll sign international inspectors, multi-agencies, do you believe it would be enough?
It really depends, I think, in that case on who you're dealing with. And it may require additional military strikes. It may require additional months of a naval blockade with the inability of the regime to export its oil and to rearm its missile and drone programs. Now, it just depends on if we get these people who remain in power, who have survived the initial two wars, to commit to something like this. I mean, I share your skepticism absolutely that it will be a tall order. And in that case, that puts the U.S. in a position of having to continue the strikes of Israel, also saying that they will not let this end unless the enriched uranium in particular is shipped out of the country, even if they have to go in and get it.
Your bottom line is, if the peace negotiations don't include this component, then we should continue the war, target regime figures, and those groups supporting terrorism. Is that Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah?
That's right. I think the U.S. and Israel should continue the strikes, taking out even surgically and selectively additional Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi, other capabilities, regime officials, in order to degrade them and make them realize that there really is no future where they get to govern a peaceful Iran and keep their nuclear weapons programs. And the U.S., I think, is very clear that they want a wholesale change in behavior from this regime. So they can either do it the hard way, or they can just agree, allow inspectors in, give over the enriched uranium, and let them be able to continue surviving another day.
Okay, one more question, really unfair question, crystal ball question. Will the Iranians give those assurances at this peace table now, or will it take more damage, more fighting, continuation of the war? What does the crystal ball say?
Well, I think the U.S. team gave it the good college try this weekend, 21 hours of talks, the vice president meeting. I think they definitely gave Iran a chance to end the hostilities. But knowing this regime and knowing how they operate and how ideological they are, I really don't see them making a deal anytime soon, unless there is some kind of a attempt to delay additional pain, and they decide at the 11th hour to come up with something. And then, of course, as we've discussed, you always have to be concerned that they're cheating, that they're not giving full access, and that they will even follow through on a deal.
Yeah, I'm with you on it. And we can't take half a loaf and come home and claim success. Ms. Striker, thank you very, very much. Thank you for the insight. Thank you for talking to us. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks.